我们有好几位跟我们介绍，说我们年纪大了，有什么事情要想的，要自己安排，要准备。过去这20-30年来，一般人的寿命延长了很多。在我的祖父辈，大概一般的平均寿命大概50多岁、60岁。我父亲辈大概加了1年，到我们这一代，恐怕要多安排，要想到80、90甚至100。那这个是不管你退休不退休，从今天开始到你要去见菩萨、见上帝，还有30-40年的时间。那这个就要好好的想一想，做些准备。那么像我自己还是我的朋友，年轻的时候根本没有想到说将来老了之后要怎么办。现在忽然一下自己已经老了，那往前看看还有那么长的一段时间要过，那这个所以这个银发族就是来帮我们。先要告诉我们要去想一想，再接下来就是再想了之后，就是说要开始做安排。所以今天早上是各位的讲员就告诉我们，说我们要做些什么样的安排。那因为时间的有限，所以是只讲得很简略。有比较深入的，或者你们有问题的，希望你们来银发族我们再有更深入的介绍，跟帮你们解答问题。那银发族呢，是我们有自己的场地的，是在Crossroad shopping mall 的对面。那么银发族这个团体呢，完全是由志工来操作经营的。我们没有受到任何这个团体的资助，没有政府的钱，也没有任何一个单位给我们这个资助，完全是靠志工跟我们自己朋友的捐款。像今天的午饭，就是各位银发族的朋友们跟实际帮我们准备的午餐。那所有的工作也就是这样，由大家来分头负担。银发族是一个很好的团体，希望你们大家多来参加我们的活动来跟我们一起享受，也一起工作，让我们有一个很好的晚年。那么下面的节目呢，是由是美国的Social Security这个单位来帮我们讲解，说我们老了，这个社会保险局可以跟我们提供一些什么样的服务那么我们就把这个时间交给Social Security来的这位先生。那在开始他开始演讲之前，再提醒大家把你的手机关掉，或者把手机改成震动不要是哔哔哔哔哔哔，在演讲一半的时候就响起来。谢谢大家。
Good afternoon, everybody. Hello. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Very good, very good. Well, we'll go ahead and just start off. My name is Kurt Larson, and I work for the Social Security Administration. And today, we're going to be learning about Social Security benefits. Now, to give you a little background on myself, I've actually worked for Social Security for about 20 years. So I've done a little bit of everything for them. I've taken claims, approved claims, worked in our Tacoma office, Puyallup, Auburn, Seattle, worked in our disability branch. So I have lots of information that I want to share with you today about Social Security. So in today's presentation, we're going to be going over a lot of material. You should all have a handout if you want to follow along. We'll be following this handout today, and we'll be discussing all of Social Security's programs. Retirement, survivors, if you want to talk about disability benefits, Medicare coverage, we'll be talking about all those things today. Now then, I want to talk about a couple of things though. You all should have also received some handouts, some publications, I believe. If I can just borrow this real quick, thank you. You should have a booklet called Understanding the Benefits. Now, I'm not actually going to be going through this today. This is just something for you to take with you and refer to later on. A wealth of information in here about all of our programs. And I encourage you to take it with you and refer to it when you want to understand what Social Security is all about. Also, just to let you know, you can actually get this publication at our website in 15 different languages. And towards the end of the presentation, I'll show you where you can get that from our multi-language gateway. So if you want to learn about Social Security in Chinese or Korean or Vietnamese or Tagalog, you can go ahead and do that right by going to our website and downloading most of our publications in 15 different languages. The other handout you should have is something called the My Social Security Account. This page, what this does, is information about Social Security. If you want to know what your future Social Security benefits are going to be, and if I may ask a question, how many people here today are currently getting Social Security benefits? How many of people are getting a check? All right, a number of you. If you haven't started your benefits yet, and you want to find out what your future benefits are going to be, you need to open up one of these My Social Security accounts. If you're not getting a check yet, this will be able to tell you, when you open up one of these accounts at our website, you'll be able to find out what your future Social Security benefits would be. However, if you're already on benefits, this even becomes more important. If you're already getting Social Security benefits, you can use the My Social Security account to go online, and if you need to change your address, change your phone number, change your direct deposit, get benefit verification letters if you need something to verify how much you're getting from Social Security, if you need replacement tax forms, if you want to review your work history, you can do all that right from having a My Social Security account. Now, if I can also just ask you one other question, how many people currently have a My Social Security account? Show of hands, number of people? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 16. Well, very good. I'd like to congratulate the people that have already opened up one of these accounts. Very important to do that. This is where Social Security is moving. For better or worse, going online is going to be the way that people are going to need to be able to access Social Security information in the future. Unfortunately, due to budget cuts, we have lost over 10,000 employees over the last 15 years. The Social Security staff that is there to serve everybody is getting smaller. So it's going to be very important in the future to be able to get your information and do things online directly with Social Security. Because we don't, in the future, we don't expect to be getting many more employees. And in fact, if you've tried to get into a Social Security office recently, it's been very difficult. Our hours that we serve the public have actually been reduced. The Social Security offices are only now open from 9 to 3 o'clock each day. And on Wednesdays, they're only open from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. And a lot of this is due to budget restrictions. But also, more and more of what we do is actually coming through the internet rather than people walking through the door. So I do encourage you, for those of you that have not set up a My Social Security account, I do encourage you to go ahead and create that in the future. Very important if you want to be able to access the work directly with Social Security, or if you're not on benefits, if you want to know what your future benefits are, very important to have one of these My Social Security accounts. Are there any questions? And as I go through the presentation today, I will stop at several points and ask if there are any questions. If you have any questions, just feel free to raise your hands. Are there any questions about the My Social Security account? Yes?
Yes, was the website affected by that Part D vote?
Very good question. Basically, what is the security measures at Social Security? Was it affected by that security problem called Heartbleed? No, the answer is no. We're not Target. We're the federal government, and we're Social Security, and actually we have the highest encryption standards at our website, right on par with the Department of Defense. So we design all our own software, we design our own security protocols, which can be bad and good. When you're on the Social Security site, if you're doing anything on the site, which you can now file for benefits right on our site, if you're on our site and you arrow backwards, you leave a page, you actually lose everything. There is nothing stored on the page itself. So if you don't hit enter, which then connects you to the Social Security and then transmits everything, if you move back and forth inside the pages, they'll actually erase themselves. And it's designed to do that, so there's no information stored there. There's no, like if you go to like Google or some other type of search engine, they store information on you. Social Security does not do that. We use the highest encryption standards, so all these security breaches that have happened recently, no, Social Security has never had a security breach. You can be assured when you use the My Social Security account or you go to the Social Security site, your information is safe. That having been said, I always do caution people about that. If you're using online services, the service that you're using is only as safe as the computer that you're using. If the computer you're using already has spyware on it, then it's just like you're typing away and somebody's looking over your shoulder when you're accessing this. This doesn't have anything to do with the Social Security site, this has to do with your computer. So if you're going to use these sites, you do need to make sure that your computer is free of viruses so that nothing can get affected. But the Social Security at sites is as safe as it possibly can be. Any other questions about the My Social Security? Yes. Do we take phone calls? So if you're not comfortable using the computer, are there other ways you can go ahead and contact Social Security? And the answer is yes. We do still have our offices. As a matter of fact, we have an office here in Bellevue. We have 2 in Seattle. We have 1 in Kent. We have 1 in Linwood, 1 in Tacoma, 1 in Puyallup. You can go into those offices if you wish to do business with Social Security, although it is getting more and more difficult because of the number of staffing shortages that we have. But yes, you can also call our 800 number, and you can get information there. And our 800 number is open from 7 in the morning till 7 at night. And that number is right on the inside front page of your booklet here. It's 1-800-772-1213. Also, at our when you call our 800 number, if you would prefer to do business in a different language, we will bring an interpreter on to go ahead and do the interview in any language that you want. We actually contract with a group out of Washington, D.C. called the Language Bank, and they actually have about 120 different languages that they can bring interpreters on the line for. So if you want to call into our 800 number, you can certainly do that, 7 in the morning till 7 at night. And if you want to do an interview in a different language, you can go ahead and request any language that you want to do it in, and we'll bring an interpreter on to be able to use that language. Yes? Yeah, actually, it's Pacific time, yes. We actually have people that work in Hawaii. We have people that work all across the nation for our 800 number. So any place in the country you are, 7 in the morning till 7 at night. Yes. Any other questions before we jump in? All right. The first thing I want to do is just give you a quick overview about what Social Security is. Normally when you say Social Security, people automatically think of retirement benefits. But really, Social Security is a collection of programs. Social Security is a collection of insurance programs. Our original program started in 1935 as a retirement program. But very quickly, we expanded to include other programs. So for instance, 1939, we expanded to include survivor's benefits. So if a worker passes away and they have a surviving spouse, that spouse can file on their record and receive Social Security benefits from the deceased individual. Or if someone passes away and they have a minor child, it's a child that's under the age of 18, or between the ages of 18 and 19 and still in high school, or a child that's become disabled before the age of 22, a child can also get benefits on a deceased individual, or on an individual that's reached retirement age, or an individual that's also become disabled. And in 1956, we expanded the Social Security program to include disability benefits. So if you become disabled and unable to work, you can also access Social Security coverage before reaching your retirement age. 1965, we expanded the program to include Medicare. Now there are two main parts to Medicare. There's Medicare Part A, which is the hospital insurance, and Medicare Part B, which is the doctor's insurance. And we'll be talking about those two programs towards the end of the presentation. But one thing I'd like to point out is that the original parts of Medicare that started in 1965, they did not include prescription drug coverage. And it wasn't until 2003 that we added prescription drug coverage. In 2003, this allowed seniors and people that are receiving Social Security disability access to lower cost prescription drugs. Now I want to talk real quickly about who's getting Social Security benefits. Today, there are about 57 million people receiving Social Security benefits. And while retirement benefits is our biggest program, we only have about 37 million people that are getting retirement benefits. The other 20 million people receiving Social Security benefits are drawing benefits from our other programs. So for example, we have about 9 million people that get Social Security disability benefits. Those are about 9 million people that have become disabled and unable to work before retirement age and are able to access their benefits early. We also have about 4.5 million widows and widowers that get benefits. Those are individuals that have lost a spouse, and rather than drawing benefits under their own Social Security number, they're able to access their deceased husband or wife's Social Security benefits. You'll also see on here things called dependents or children. Most of these are minor children. So for example, we have about 2 million children in this country that get monthly Social Security benefits off a deceased parent's record. Those are 2 million children that have lost one or both of their parents and are able to access protection off their parents' record. And they receive a monthly Social Security check. And we also have about 9 million disabled workers that get benefits. Those workers have an additional 2 million children that get additional benefits off of their record. So if you became disabled and unable to work, not only would you get a check, but if you have a minor child, the minor child would also get a check. Now, are there any questions about Social Security's past, present, or future before we jump into discussing retirement benefits? All right. The first thing I want to demonstrate with retirement benefits is that it's actually quite easy to qualify for a check here in this country. All you need to do is make about $4,800 a year, do that for 10 years, and you will qualify for a Social Security check. So over your lifetime, to get a check here in this country, all you have to do is accumulate 40 credits. You can earn up to 4 credits per year. To earn 1 credit this year, you just need to have taxable wages or self-employment of $1,200, and you will qualify for a check. So it's not very difficult to qualify for a Social Security check. Also, and I tell you this in case you know somebody in this situation, to qualify for a check here in the United States, you don't have to earn all that money here in this country. Meaning, we have agreements with countries all over the world that if you've worked and paid into their Social Security system, but you cannot get a check from their system, let's say you worked 5 years in Canada, and you can't get a Canadian Social Security benefit because you didn't work there long enough. They have a similar requirement to ours. We'll actually combine your work here in this country with the work that you did in Canada and allow you to become insured for a Social Security check. We have agreements with Australia, Japan, Korea, most of Europe, Canada of course, Iceland, and I believe Israel. That if you've worked and paid into their Social Security system, the money is not lost. You can actually have it transferred here to this country and combined with your U.S. coverage to give you a higher Social Security benefit. Any questions? Yes?
How do we go about checking into that? I worked in Japan for 6 years.
Very good. So the question is how do you go checking into that? How do you find out if you have any credits in a particular foreign country? You indicated that you worked in Japan for 6 years. What you'd want to do is contact the Japanese consulate and basically say, I worked between this time, and I worked in this part of Japan. Do I qualify for benefits? And they'll ask you, identifying information. What was your name? What was your date of birth? Do you remember your Japanese social security number? What companies did you work for? And they'll research that. And typically what they'll do is if you only work like 6 years, they'll come back and say, yes, we found records, you did work 6 years, you worked between whatever years, and but you don't qualify for a check here in Japan. You can then take that information, take it to the US Social Security Office, and we will contact the Japanese government and tell them this person does qualify for benefits here. We want you to transfer the money that they paid into your system here to the United States to increase their Social Security benefits. And once you do that, just like that, 24 months later, you'll start to get a bigger check. It does take a little while. It is going to take a little while to get this done. So you want to do this as soon as possible. Many other countries allow you to file for retirement benefits as early as age 60. So if you're going to do this and you're reaching the age of 60, you want to go ahead and start this process to find out what your coverage and what you actually have paid into the system of the foreign country.
Is there a time limit?
There is no time limit. So even if you're already getting benefits and now you contact the Japanese government and they transfer the money here, if it will increase your benefits, and it doesn't always increase your benefits, it depends on how much you've paid in and different things like that. If it will increase your benefits, we'll add it on, and here's the good news. We'll actually take you all the way back to when you originally started getting benefits. So even if it increased to just $10 a month, and you've been receiving benefits for 10 years, we would go backwards all the way 10 years ago and pay you each of those $10 a month all the way forward. So there is no time limit, and we'll go backwards to you when you originally filed to give you the full credit. One of the biggest changes that's taken place over time with Social Security is the adjustment to the full retirement age. The age at which a person can claim 100% of their benefit. It used to be that if you waited to file at age 65, you could claim 100% of your benefits. You'd get your whole check. That has changed. And currently, for people born between 1943 and 1954, they cannot get 100% unless they wait till age 66. And for people born 1960 or later, they cannot get 100% unless they wait till age 67. So the age at which you can claim 100% of your benefit has changed. However, there is still some good news. If you don't want to wait until age 66 or age 67, you can file for your benefits early. As a matter of fact, you can file as early as age 62 if you wish, but you will not collect 100% of your benefits. If you file early, your benefits will be permanently reduced. And on the next slide, I'll show you what that means. Or you can wait until your full retirement age 66 or 67 or somewhere in between, and claim 100% of your benefit. Or a third option that not a lot of people know about. You can actually wait past your full retirement age, you can wait past the age of 66, and if you do that, we will give you bonus credits. You can actually get more than 100% of your benefits. Let me illustrate this. This is a chart that represents a person. This person has choices to make on what they want their benefits to look like. Now then, a couple of things about this example. Number one, this is for a person that at age 66, if they waited to file at age 66, they'd get their full 100% of their benefits. In this example, 100% of their benefits represents $1,000. So if this person waited to file until age 66, they'd get 100% of their benefits. Also, I want to emphasize, this has nothing to do with work. Meaning, if this person stopped work over here at age 62, but elected not to take their benefits. They stopped work, they started living on some other type of income, some other resource, they filed for a pension, whatever it might be. If they waited to file until age 66, they would still get their 100%. They would still get their $1,000. This has to do not when you stop work, but when you activate your Social Security check. So even if you stopped work way over here, you would still get 100% if you waited till age 66. Now then, this person has a choice though. If they wanted to, they could file at age 62. And if they did file at age 62, the good news is they collect 48 extra checks. And the bad news though, they go from $1,000 down to $750 a month for the rest of their lives. By filing early, you take a 25% cut in your benefits for the rest of your life. Here's the key, and if you don't remember anything else from this presentation, even if you're on benefits, you should spread this information to other people. If you file early, every single month you file early, not every single year, every single month you file early, your benefits are reduced by 0.5%. So for every single month you file early, your benefits are reduced by 0.5%. So if this person could have gotten $1,000 at age 66, and they filed at age 65 and 10 months, they filed just 2 months early, 2 times 0.5%, that's 1%, they would take a permanent lifetime cut of 1% by filing for their benefits early. So each and every month you file early, your benefits are permanently reduced. Now then, going up the other side of this, if you reach age 66 and you say, you know, maybe you're working, maybe you're not, doesn't matter, you just decide not to take your benefits. You decide you're going to wait and take your benefits. For every month you wait past your full retirement age, we increase your benefits by 0.66% per month that you delay taking your check, or 8% a year. So if this person waited just 1 more year, doesn't matter if they're working or not, they would automatically go from $1,000 to $1,080. They get an 8% guaranteed increase to their benefits for the rest of their lives. And let me tell you, there's not a lot of investments out there today that will give you a guaranteed 8% on your money for the rest of your life simply by waiting just 1 year. But Social Security will do that for you. If you waited all the way to age 70, that's where you get the maximum credits, you could go ahead and collect 132% of your benefits for the rest of your life in this example. Now, if you can't get 100% of your benefit until age 67, because you're born 1960 or later, then you can't get the full 132%. You only get 8% a year. 3 times 8 would be 24%. So you get 124% of your benefit for the rest of your life if you couldn't file until age 67. So very good to go ahead and consider this. When to activate your benefit is the single largest thing that you can do to make sure that you have a bigger Social Security check. A lot of people say, you know, I'll work longer or I'll make more money. That's not necessarily going to increase your benefit. The single biggest thing you can do is to increase your benefits is delay taking your benefits as long as possible. And very important to remember that we as a people, we are living much longer than we used to. The average life expectancy today for a 62-year-old person is about age 81 or age 82. And for a woman, this is even longer. The average life expectancy for a 62-year-old woman is about age 82 or age 83. And the life expectancy for an Asian female, the longest living person in our society, is about age 87 or age 88. So remember, when you start your benefits, you may be receiving Social Security benefits for a very long time. And if you start your benefits early, while you'll have some extra money in your 60s, as you get into your 70s and 80s, you begin to fall behind. And actually, by filing early, you can actually lose thousands or tens of thousands of dollars by activating your benefits early. Any questions on what effect filing early or delaying your benefit will have? Any questions on that? All right. Just want to say one more thing on retirement benefits, and then we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about family benefits. With retirement benefits, there are restrictions on how much you can make from wages and self-employment and get all of your Social Security benefits. If you're going to start your benefits early, 62 or 63 or 64 or 65, you're going to start your benefits early, you are restricted on how much you can make from wages or self-employment and get all of your benefits. That current restriction is this, $15,480. So if you want to start you're 62 years old, 63, and you're going to start your benefits early, you can go ahead and do that, but you're now limited to making $15,480 from wages and self-employment and getting all 12 of your Social Security checks. For every $2 you go over that number, you'll lose $1 from Social Security. So if you, let's say it was January, and you came in and you said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and work this year, I'm going to make $15,000. No problem. You can go ahead and file, and you'll get all 12 of your checks. But if you said, hey, I'm going to make $30,480, you're going to go over this number by 15,000. We take that 15,000, we divide it by 2, leaves us with 7,500, and basically what we say is you can go ahead and make the $30,000, you're just not going to get all 12 of your checks. We're going to have to hold back $7,500 before we send you any benefits. So we're going to hold your whole January, your whole February, your whole March, your whole April, maybe your whole May and June check, depending on how high your benefits are. So if you're going to file and you're still working, you will be limited on how much you can make and get all 12 of your Social Security checks. Once you reach your full retirement age, once you reach the age 66 or age 67 or whatever your full retirement age is, there's no limit on how much you can make. You could be making $1 million a year and you will still get all 12 of your Social Security benefits. So once you reach your full retirement age, no limit on how much you're going to make. And you can get all 12 of your checks. Any questions on what effect work will have on your benefits? Last thing I want to say about work, even if you start your benefits and you keep working and you keep paying into Social Security, each year the computer will run a calculation and see if the new money you just added to the record, it will see if that money can increase your benefits for the rest of your life. Now then, when we calculate your benefits, when we determine what your payment's going to be, a lot of people think that we do it based on your last 5 years worth of work or your high 10 years. In reality, we use your biggest 35 years worth of work when we determine what your Social Security benefit is going to be. We use your highest 35 years worth of work. If you do not have 35 years worth of work, we just start adding in zeros. And that's going to bring down the overall value of your Social Security benefits. So that's another reason important to have your My Social Security account, so you can look over your Social Security record and make sure that you got credit for all the work you did over your lifetime. So if you continue to work, even after you start your check, if you add money to your record and it becomes one of the highest 35s, the computer will rerun the calculation and potentially raise your benefits, your benefit check, for the rest of your life. Any questions about work? Yes?
I used to get a once-a-year forecast. Those forecasts using the formula was a 35-year service. What about before the 35-year service, I stopped? What's the difference? Nobody.
Very good question. Basically, you all used to get a Social Security statement in the mail. We actually haven't sent that out for about 2 years. We now want people to get online and open up their My Social Security account. That's where you can get that information now. However, you're right. That statement you used to get in the mail and the one that you can get online, when it gave you a projection of what your benefits are going to be, it made one huge assumption. And the assumption was this: whatever you made last year, the computer was going to take that money and project it all the way out till age 62. It imagined whatever you made last year, you were going to continue making that money all the way till 62. So if you were 50 years old and you were making $50,000, it automatically assumed that you were going to make $50,000 for another 12 years. And it worked that into the estimate of what your benefits are going to be. So your question was, what if you stop work early? What if you reach age 55 and you stop work? Well, there's 7 years where you didn't pay in the $50,000 the computer thought you were going to be paying in. Will that reduce your benefits? And the answer is generally yes. It's going to reduce your benefits. How much it's going to reduce it by is a difficult thing to say, because the computer is simply looking for the highest 35 years worth of work. So if you worked from age 20 to age 55, there's 35 years worth of work. If you had very high wages from age 20 to age 55, it wouldn't need anything more. It would already have the highest 35 years. However, if you didn't make a lot of money when you were back in your 20s, maybe the work that you're doing now would push out some of those lower years. So yes, generally if you're going to stop work early and you're having a pretty good salary, and you had other years in your work past where you didn't make a lot of money, it will reduce the benefit. Really difficult to say how much that's going to be because it all depends on how high the other years are that are left in the calculation. We do have a tool at our website where you can figure that out. You can actually go to our website. It's called the Benefit Estimator. If you're thinking of stopping work early, or you're thinking of reducing your work, you can run any number of what-if scenarios using this tool. You can go to our website, and it's called the Benefit Estimator, and basically what you do is you put in your name, date of birth, and social security number, and you access your existing social security work record. And it will take all the money you've already made and then let you change your future projection. So let's say you were 52 years old. You could say, if I stopped work right now, didn't make any more money, what would my benefits really look like at age 62 or age 66? Or let's say you were 54 years old and you said, hey, if I go to part-time work, I go from making $60,000 down to making $25,000, and I do that for the next 7 years, what will my benefits look like? You can run any number of what-if scenarios to get a better estimate of what your benefits will look like, and that's exactly why we have that tool. The estimate you get online is pretty good if you're going to work all the way to age 62 and at least make what you've been making so far. It comes out pretty close to that. That's what your benefits are going to be. But if you're going to change your work pattern or you're going to stop work altogether before reaching age 62, there's a chance that, yes, your benefit, what you're actually going to get is going to be smaller, and depending on when you're stopping, it could be much smaller. Question?
That number that they take for each year of 35 years that you put in there, is that your adjusted gross income?
Very good question. So what is that income? And actually, when we calculate your benefits, is it the adjusted gross income? And the answer is it's actually your gross wages before any deductions. It's box number 1 on your W-2 statement. And that's before any deductions come out of your wages, your paycheck. That's the box they're using. However, they do even something more interesting. When we calculate your benefits, we actually take all your work history and we index it. We actually adjust your work history for inflation. So we don't look just at the raw dollars. So let's say you made $10,000 back in 1985. When we do our calculation, we don't use $10,000 from 1985. We adjust 1985 for inflation. So in our calculations, it's not worth $10,000. It might be worth $30,000 because we might index it and it might have a multiple of 3 to increase that based on inflation. And we adjust each year, and each year has a different inflationary adjustment. So the computer will then take your entire work history, adjust each year for inflation, bring it up to a more even playing field, because it'd be unfair to look at how much you made this year compared to how much you made in 1990 simply because of the effects of inflation. So we bring it all up to a more even playing field, and then the computer simply goes through and picks out the highest 35 years, adds that all together, and then divides by 35, and comes up with a theoretical year.
Now, I also noticed that in box 1, that doesn't include my phone contribution.
That, actually it does. So if you're having money go out to your 401k, box 1 will have that before the 401k money comes out. Box 1 is almost everything. Almost nothing comes out of box 1. You may not pay income taxes on the 401k money. You will. They do take out your Social Security taxes on it, and that's why that's what you get counted. There's only certain medical deductions that can come out of that we sometimes don't count. But if you look on box 1, it'll say this was your gross wages, and then over to the side they'll say this was your Social Security wages, and they're usually going to match. Now, then I think there's box 4, and it basically, that's what your adjusted gross income is. So that would be what you'll end up paying income taxes on, is usually box 4, I believe it is. And that's the one that they've had your 401k come out and some other different things. But usually that number that we use has almost nothing deducted out of it.
So an employer match on a 401k, would that go into that box also?
No, that would not also go into the box. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there. If your employer is contributing money, it does not get registered in that box. Certain other employee benefits, of course, they might be paying for a lot of your medical, but it's not, you can't be taxed on that, and it's also not recognized as an income for Social Security purposes. Question?
You said according to your retirement, they have to up to 62. but if I'm 59, I'm retired, and I still need 3 years or 2.5 years. And the thing is, it still give you the worker still give you pension. Does pension?
Good question. Does the pension count towards the 35 years? And the answer is no. Because we don't take FICA taxes out on it. It's not recognized as wages. It's recognized as a pension. So for our purposes, you could be getting a pension of, let's say, $40,000, but for our purposes, it's going to look like a zero.
Okay. If 2 years does account to decrease your Social Security money is a lot, or is it little?
It would probably, if it was just 2 years, it would probably be a little. Assuming you had at least up to very close to 35 years worth of work already. So if it's unique to each person, because we have to look at how many years of work you already have. So if you stopped work at age 59, how many years would you have of work before that?
18.
18? Then we're going to have a lot of zeros that we're figuring in. Because we're using 35 years. And if you only have 18 years, then we have...
According to 59 and a half, and I only need 2 years to up to 62.
You only need 2 years before you can retire.
Yes.
But to figure out what your benefits are going to be, we use the highest 35 years worth of work.
Yeah, but you'll count it to 62.
No, we'll actually count it for the rest of your life. If you kept on working, if you worked past 62, if you worked till age 75, every year that you work, we would add new money to the record.
But you can take out the Social Security 62.
Yes.
So you only accounted to 62, not accounted to put a lot of zeros to 65, 67.
I think that what you're thinking is that 62 is the minimum starting. Doesn't mean you have to take it. A lot of
Exactly.
people taking a 70, 75-year-old. It's up to your individual calculation.
And so, yes, so that's just the earliest point you could start the benefits. But when we look at your lifetime worth of work, we count the highest 35 years.
So you mean if I'm 62, if take out is better than the 65 or 60 or 70? Because according to have to account it to up to 35 years.
35 years
So
worth of work.
Even though I waiting to the 70 years old to get out of Social Security was left, and I'm 62, I think, without the money.
No, it would be higher. It would be higher, just like you see on the chart here.
You will put a lot of zero.
But we assume that you're right though. If you're not working, so if you stopped work at age 59 and you didn't pay any more into Social Security, then you're right. If you stopped working, it almost doesn't matter when you start to file for your benefits. Although, if you start your benefits at 62, you're taking a 25% cut. You're taking a very large cut in your benefit, and you only have 18 years worth of work. If you worked more and paid more in, your benefit would be much higher. Especially because almost anything that you make will push out a zero. So even if you went back to work and made $5,000, that's $5,000 more dollars that we put into your record, and that will increase your benefit. Even after you start getting checks, even if you took your benefits and you kept on working, so if you got a monthly check and you kept working, anything you pay into Social Security will increase your benefits. So, and that's why we have the rule here that says you don't even have to stop working. Even after you start a check, as long you can make up to $15,000 a year and get all your Social Security checks, and we'll use that $15,000 to increase your benefits each and every year. So every year you add new money into it, the computer will rerun the calculation and increase your benefits for the rest of your life. So the short explanation here is keep on working. Yes? Very good question. How long does it take us to include the new work on your record? Now, you mean for the benefit estimate? For the benefit estimate, it could take as much as 18 months to get that new work posted on there. So if you're looking at a benefit estimate, like right now, if you pulled up your record, they won't always have the 2013 work that you did. They might just have 2012. It depends on how quickly your employer reports the information to us. We just finished tax season, so for many people, we will start to see 2013 posted to the record. But it would not be unusual for it to take more than a year. So often, to get that information on there can take a little while. Now then, if you're filing for benefits though, if you came in and filed, and you said, hey, let's say you were filing this month, and we didn't have the 2013 on your record yet, we would ask to see your W-2 form, and we would manually put it onto your record. So you can get credit for it very quickly, it's just that you can't do it not automatically. You need to sometimes show us your W-2 form. Everything else should be already on there though, 2012 going backwards. 2013 may not always be there. It's getting faster as more things are computerized. But if we didn't have it on there, we could say, hey, we could put that on there. We just need to, you need to bring us your W-2 form so we can post it. Any other questions on work or anything dealing with Social Security retirement benefits before I move on to our other programs? Okay? I want to talk real quickly about family benefits. As we talked about earlier, there are children's benefits. And if you have a child that's under the age of 18, or between the ages of 18 and 19 and still in high school, or a child that becomes disabled, that child can get benefits on your record. Whether you're on retirement, or you're disabled, or you've passed away. Those children are protected and can get benefits on your record. And that could be your natural child, that could be an adoptive child, that could be a stepchild. And under certain rare instances, it can actually be your grandchild. If you're taking care of your grandchild, and the child's natural parents are deceased or disabled, potentially the grandchild can get benefits off of your Social Security record. However, another program I want to talk about is called spouses benefits. And this is probably the program that confuses the most people. Spouses benefits is this. It's a guarantee that your benefit will be no smaller than 50% of what your spouse is going to get. What you will get from Social Security will be no smaller than 50% of what your spouse is going to get. That's what spouses benefits are. It's a guarantee that you will at least get 50% of the equivalent of 50% of what your spouse is going to get. So picture this. You've never worked. You've never worked and paid into Social Security. And your spouse at age 66 is going to get $2,000 a month. When you reach age 66, having never worked and paid into Social Security, under the spouses program you can file and you will get a separate check made out to you for $1,000 per month. Does not affect your spouse in any way. They get their $2,000. When you reach age 66, you could file and get an extra $1,000 per month. And this is on a living spouse. So that's what the spouses program does. It gives you those benefits. Now then, that $1,000 though in this example can be smaller. I said you could get $1,000 at your age 66. If you filed earlier, if you took your money earlier, it would be reduced, similar to what we saw in the chart earlier. It's also reduced for whatever you can get on your own record. So using that same example, your spouse is eligible for $2,000 a month. You can get $1,000 off of their record. However, you're already eligible for $900 on your own record. Well, you're not going to get both of them. You're not going to get the $900 and the $1,000. The $900 on your own record gets subtracted out of the $1,000 that you can get on your spouse's. Now you get $900 on your own, $100 on your spouse, brings you back up to that 50% level. That's all this program is designed to do, is to get you up to that 50% level. Using the same example, your spouse is eligible for $2,000. You can get $1,000 off their record. You're already getting $1,100 on your own record. You won't get anything as a spouse. You've already exceeded the 50%. And that's all it's there to do, is to get you up to that 50%. Note, you both need to at least be age 62. And we also recognize divorced spouses benefits. Meaning, if you were married to somebody for 10 years and you've divorced them, and you're not remarried to somebody else now, you potentially can file on your ex-husband or ex-wife's record. And we don't care how many ex-spouses you have. If you have 4 different spouses that you were married to 10 years apiece, we'll let you look at all 4 records and take the highest of the 4 ex-spouses. No, you cannot file on all 4 at the same time. Very good try, though. I like that. Very good. You can only file, but we'll let you look at all 4, and we'll let you take the highest of the 4 ex-spouses. So what I'm saying there is it's a good thing to have lots of spouses. No, I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. But if you're in that situation, yes, we will let you look at those, and you can get the highest of those 4 ex-spouses. Any questions on the spouses program? Yes?
Can they file retroactively?
Can they file retroactively? What do you mean?
Say like they didn't know about this, and they could have, but they didn't, and go back and do it.
So you mean you have a person that, give me an example, ages. So you have some.
Say it was my mom, for instance,
Okay.
and didn't know about this program.
Okay.
And can she go back so many years?
So is your mother currently married?
Oh, no, she's a widower.
She's a widower, right? Theoretically, yes, we could go backwards up to, depending on how old the individual is, the farthest we'll go back, unless there was a mistake made by Social Security, the farthest we'll go backwards is 6 months. And the person would have to be over the age of 66 even to do that. So if you came in, you were now 64 years old, you said, hey, I went to this presentation and I found out that I could file for benefits on my ex-husband or ex-wife's record, but I didn't know about it. But I could have filed. Can I do that? And what we would tell you is, yes, you can do it today, but no, we can't go backwards. Not knowing the law, unfortunately, is not a reason to go backwards and give you the benefits. Now then, if you could then prove and say, hey, I came in when I was 62, and I talked to somebody, and I talked to Miss Smith at this window, and I have a record, and she said I wasn't eligible for any benefits. If you had some written proof, then we could possibly say, okay, you received misinformation, we can go ahead and file for the benefits. Even if we could demonstrate that you came in and there was some sort of letter that we sent you, you did a name change, but we didn't see if you wanted benefits. Potentially you could say, I was told that I couldn't file, and there's no reason why I wouldn't, I'm not working, different things like that. So there are times we can go back a little ways, but not very far. Question?
So the spouse's benefit is drawn partially from their spouse and then themselves, right?
Yes, so the spouse's benefits, you can be drawing from 2 records at the same time. So let's say your spouse is eligible for $1,800. You're eligible for $900 off their record. If you're already getting $600 off your record, the $600 gets subtracted out of the $900, and you get $600 on your own and $300 off your spouse. We add those 2 together, and you get 1 check deposited into your bank account. You won't see 2 checks, but technically, yes, you are actually drawing from 2 different records.
So that means both need to file for benefits, right, to be on the record.
So do both of them need to file for benefits? And the answer is maybe. This gets a little complicated. If you're currently married to the person, then yes, before you can file on your spouse's record, your spouse has to be at least age 62 and have filed for benefits. However, it changes if you're divorced. If you're divorced, you don't have to wait for your ex-spouse to file for their own benefits. They just have to be age 62. So it slightly changes if it's a divorce situation. If you're currently married, you have to wait for your spouse to file. If you're divorced, you can independently file on your ex-husband or ex-wife's record.
So let's say there's no divorce involved here, is married, and so the spouses can draw half of the benefits from their parties, right? And then theoretically, she or he doesn't need to file their own.
No, if a good question, do you need to file your own benefits? And I get people that ask me this question, what if at age 62, I took 50% of my spouse's benefits, and then at age 66, took 100% of my own benefits? Can you do that? And the answer is no. You can't do that. Good idea, but you can't do that. If you're under your full retirement age, if you're 66 or younger, you have to file for your own benefits first. You don't have a choice. Before you can try to take anything off your spouse's record, you have to file for your own benefit first. However, Social Security has a lot of different exceptions. We do have a strategy where you can do something like that. However, you have to wait till age 66. You can't file for anything until age 66. So at age 66, if you haven't filed for anything, and maybe your spouse has already filed, or maybe they're going to be filing right now, at age 66 you get a choice to file for either 50% of your spouse's or your own benefit. So picture this. You and your spouse are both age 66, for example, and your spouse is eligible for $2,000 a month, and you're eligible for $2,000 a month. Your spouse, she files for her $2,000. You, being age 66 or older, you now have a choice. You can either take your own $2,000, or you could opt not to touch your own money and file for 50% of your wife's account. She'll get $2,000, and now you get $1,000 a month off her record. Now then, why would you want to do that, though? You gave up $2,000. You could have been getting $2,000, but you opted to take 50% of hers and just get $1,000 a month. And here's the reason why. If you don't start your own benefit, remember those bonus credits? While you're collecting $1,000 a month off of hers, your $2,000 a month begins to increase at the rate of 8% a year. By the time you reach age 70, after you've collected $1,000 a month off her, you can now activate your own benefit, and now you're going to get $2,640 a month for the rest of your life. So what you were describing you can do, but the key piece of information, you have to wait until age 66. You can't, if you file under 66, you have to take your own benefits first. Did that answer the question? Okay. Yes?
If you do not divorce, then you are in marriage, does the 10 years marriage still apply?
Very good question. If you're currently married, do you have to wait 10 years before you file for benefits? And the answer is no. If you're currently married, generally the longest you'll have to wait is a year. So if you were unmarried right now and you went out and you got married to somebody, generally within a year you could then file and get the 50% on their record. And in a number of situations we actually have less than a year. There could be a number of exceptions to that rule. So sometimes you could go out and get married today, get married this month, and you're eligible to get the 50% starting next month. So no, the 10-year requirement is only if you marry and divorce. That's only if you marry and divorce. You can be a year or less if you are getting married and you're still married to the individual. Any other questions on spousal benefits? Yes?
I got two questions.
Two questions.
One is wage earner, probably just a statement, let you verify. At the age 62, 66, or 70, if all your gross, the spouse can earn 50% of whatever you take to retirement, is that correct? So at the 62, I already deduct the 75%. My spouse can be 50% of the 75%.
No, actually she's eligible for 50% of the original 100%. So use this example to illustrate this. You're eligible for $2,000 and you file for your benefits at age 62. You're not going to get $2,000. You're going to get a 25% cut. You're only going to get $1,500 per month. Now then your wife, and let's say she's at full retirement age, she's 66, if she files on your record, she gets 50% not of what you're getting, she gets 50% of the original $2,000. She's eligible for $1,000 per month. So it's not of what you're getting, it's what you were originally eligible for. Now then, if she was under 66, she's still eligible for $1,000, but if she's 62 as well, she's not going to get the full $1,000. It's going to also be reduced because she's filing early.
Now adding to the same cases, if she wait without filing at her retirement age, Will she get the 8% and go 70?
On her, so she's 66 and she opts not to take
Correct.
her own benefits, but she takes 50% of yours?
No, she doesn't.
She doesn't take anything. She reaches age 66 and she can't file on yours because you haven't filed, and she's just going to go ahead and wait. Yes, her benefits will continue to increase at the rate of 8% a year. Yes.
Did I get it right that you get your own benefit, you also spouse's benefit?
No. So like I said, you cannot get both. So if your spouse was eligible for not $1,800, you're eligible for $900 off their record. But if you're eligible for $600 on your own record, that gets subtracted out. So then you would get $600 on yours and then $300 off your spouse's record. So no, you cannot collect both. So if you were eligible for $600 on your own, you wouldn't get the $600 on yours plus the $900 on your spouse. What you're getting on your own record is subtracted out off of the spouse's benefit.
So the strategy really is to just apply for whatever.
Not necessarily. There could be times when it's better to take the smaller benefit first and then file later on. And I'll illustrate this concept with survivor's benefits. I want to talk about survivor's benefits, and I'll give you another example of that. Survivor's benefits is different. There's much more, it's a lot more of a liberal program, as opposed to spouse's benefits, which have certain restrictions. If you're under your full retirement age, you always have to file for your own first before taking anything off a spouse's record. With survivor's benefits, you can do it differently. A couple of differences in this program, big differences. Number one, you can file for survivor's benefits as early as age 60. You don't have to wait until age 62 to file for survivor's benefits. Now then, remember that work restriction, the $15,480? You're restricted to that under this program as well. So if you were going to file for survivor's benefits at age 60, you're now restricted to making $15,480. So with survivor's benefits, a couple of big differences. You can file as early as age 60. At age 60, you would get 71% of the deceased individual's income. Or, and this is another big difference in the program, you can get remarried and still collect survivor's benefits off a deceased spouse. You can get remarried and still get benefits off a deceased spouse. So I'll use this example. Let's say you're married to somebody for 10 years, and then you divorce them. And then you marry another person, and you're married to them for 7 years, and you divorce them. And now you arrive at age 60, and you're getting married for the third time. And as you're getting remarried at age 60 or after, you hear that your first spouse, who you were married to for 10 years, you hear that they've passed away. Because you're getting remarried at age 60 or after, it doesn't matter. We go ahead and exclude that marriage, it doesn't matter to us, and we allow you to go back and file on your dead spouse number one. You do not have to, because you're getting remarried, that will not stop it. Now that if you got remarried at age 59, you would not be able to go back and file on your first spouse. It has to be at age 60 or after. Also, though, we recognize we do have divorced spouses benefits, meaning, once again, if you were married to anybody for 10 years and you've divorced them, you are potentially eligible to get benefits on that spouse's record.
But if he
Any questions on survivor's benefits? Suspension, suspending benefits? In what respect?
After you file, my case is because my husband doesn't qualify for Social Security.
Okay. So your question is, are there times that you can file for your own benefits and suspend them and not take your own check, but allow a spouse, a living spouse, to file on your record? Is that the question? Yes, you can do that. So let's say you wanted to wait till age 70 to file and get 132% of your own benefits. But you want to allow your spouse to file on your record and get some money on your record. At age 66 or after, you can do that. You can file for your own benefits, immediately ask that they be suspended so you don't get any checks, and then your spouse can file on your record, and if your spouse your spouse would be eligible for up to 50% of that benefit. Of course, if they're younger than 66, they're not going to get the full 50%. But you must have filed and suspended your benefits first. And what that does is it allows your spouse to file and get up to 50% on your record, while your own record is continuing to earn the bonus credits and increase at the rate of 8% a year. So yes.
I can suspend right after I file it.
But yes, but you have to be age 66 or older. You can't do it at 62 or 63 or 64 or 65. You have to be 66 or older, or you have to be at your full retirement age. Question?
Okay, we're gonna do that file and suspend.
Ah, okay.
Okay, my question, I wanna make sure that I'm gonna file and suspend.
So you're going to be turning age 66.
I am 60.
You are 66. Okay.
It's her that's a little short,
A little bit younger than you. Okay.
1 year.
1 year. Okay. So you're age 66 now. Have you started your benefits?
No,
No. Okay. So you could go ahead and suspend your benefits. And is your wife eligible for anything on her own record?
yes.
Yes. So
What we planned on doing was to file and suspend, she collects, but since she hasn't touched her record, that would continue to accrue to 70?
no. If she is under age 66 herself.
No, she'd be 66 when we file.
Yes, then yes, you can do that. So if she was 65 right now and she went to file on your record, she would get something maybe, but she would have to file for her own record first. So your strategy is that you're going to file and suspend. Then when your wife hits age 66, she's going to take 50% of your record and not touch her own benefit.
Correct.
And basically yours will be increasing at the rate of 8% a year. Her own benefit will be increasing at the rate of 8% a year, and she'll be drawing 50% of your benefit. So you will be getting an income stream coming into the household. And that's exactly the way we designed this concept. We did this exactly to encourage people to wait as long as possible to maximize their Social Security benefits. And the reason we did that is one universal thing that we have discovered in Social Security. The higher you can make your Social Security payment, the more likely you are to remain healthy and in your own home as you get into your 80s. The higher you can make your benefit, the more likely you are to be secure as you get into your 80s. So yes, that is exactly the way the strategy is designed.
One more question.
Sure.
Are there any downsides to that?
The good question, is there any downside to this strategy? And there is. The downside is that from age 66 to age 70, you guys are drawing a lot less money. You could have, let's say between the two of you, you could have gotten $3,000 a month, and now you're only getting $1,000 a month. In the short run, you're drawing a lot less money. In the long run, over the course of your lifetimes, and generally it's a good strategy if you're going to be living, if you expect to live at least another 10 to 12 years. If you have longevity in your family, you're in good health, good chance you're going to live into your 80s, then this is absolutely the best way to maximize your benefits. The danger is in the short run, you're drawing a lot less money. So in the short run, you're not bringing as much cash, and you could pass away. Then again, if you pass away, you don't care about money, so it doesn't matter. So I guess there is no danger there. You're right.
But I think you're working anyway.
Yes.
You got the income stream.
And that is another important thing. You're going to continue to work, and so you do have an income coming in. One other very important thing to remember, though, and in your handbook, it talks about this on page 12, if you want to look it up. Social Security benefits are taxable for income tax purposes. So if you do this, and you're working, and she starts drawing 50% on your record, and you get that Social Security money in, remember you're going to have to pay income taxes on that money and to set some of it aside. Very important to talk to a tax consultant or somebody to find out how much money you should set aside. You just don't want to have a nasty surprise when the following year comes around and they say, oh, you have to pay back X number of dollars. So do have a good idea of how much money you may need to put aside for tax purposes. Question in the back, yes.
I am retiree. I receive the Social Security check every month, like the first week of the month. I received last week. Is that the check is for the month of March or for April?
Very good check. Very good question. When you get a Social Security check, when is that payment due? And it's a month behind. So the check you got this month, in the month of April, was actually March's check. And the one you'll get in April is for May, and May's check comes in June, and June's in July, and so forth. We eventually catch up to you at the end, though.
Sorry. My second question, if I die in the month of April, do I have to pay back all?
It's a very good question. If you pass away in April, so do you have to pay back that check? And the answer is no. If you are alive, even if you don't get the check, so let's say a lot of people's check doesn't come until the end of the month. So let's say you live into April and you die on April 10th. And your check is not scheduled to come until April 25th. Are you still due that check? And the answer is yes. You are still due that check because it's coming from the month of March. Now that you've passed away, you obviously can't request that check. However, either your spouse or your minor child can request it, or if there's no spouse or no minor child, your estate can request that they receive this underpayment. We consider this to be an underpayment. We can't pay you because we hadn't sent the check out and you've passed away. However, your spouse, your minor child, or your estate can request that that money be paid to them. However, and if you live into the very first month of May, even if you live into one minute into May, you will qualify for that check because it's coming from April.
Yeah, I know that, but I mean, how many days do I have to survive to entitle to April 1?
All you have to do is live it 1 second into April 1st, and you will get that check. Actually, this is good.
You'll be rich in heaven.
Oh, no, wait. I'll plug in my power source. And gosh, let me plug that in real quick so I can wrap up with Medicare. I'm going to go ahead and just you have the sheet anyways. Unfortunately, my computer's died. We forgot to plug it in. So I'm just going to go ahead and talk about that. And are there any other questions about? Yeah, if there is another extension cord, we'll try it. Are there any other questions about survivors benefits? Another question about survivors.
I heard so many deceased person check, okay, this person check has been paid, still long time. Government try to catch the one, they send a check, but that person already died.
Yes, and so if that's happened, so like I said, if you pass away in April, if you live into April, you're due the check that comes in April. However, we have many people that, let's say you passed away on April 30th, and we don't find out about your death until May 3rd. If we sent you a check in May, you're not due that check in May, because you died in the month of April. And that's what happens with several people, is that they pass away, and we don't find out about it for a few days, and then we still send them a check. So if you died April 30th, and you get a check in May, that check still needs to be returned to us, because you're not due that check, even if you got it. And the reason is that we didn't know that you passed away in April. So that check that comes in May, that does have to be returned. Yeah.
If they don't return,
The money is later 1 month, right? Is April, will be the end of April or the beginning of the May, you see?
In order to get it, you have to live at least 1 minute into 1 second into the new month. So you don't have to live the entire month of May to get that check that comes in May, but in order to be eligible for a check for April, you have to live the entire month of April. Which is actually, and I'll tell you something that happens. Is it plugged in? So the computer will come back up in a second, but I think I'll be able to go ahead and finish this. One other thing, and this actually, I don't encourage this, but I've seen people that have done this. If you have a relative that's on life support, You will see that many people that are on life support, they live through the very end of the month, and then all of a sudden in the new month, they pass away 1 minute into the new month, because that's when the people choose to disconnect the life support. And there is a reason for that. You do qualify for, if you live 1 second into the new month, you qualify for the Social Security check. So
That's all from the death.
that is all based on the death certificate, yes. When the doctors declare that the individual is dead, yes. But all the money is being covered by Medicare, so it's not costing you anything. But you, as the spouse, you can go ahead and receive the check. Let's see if this comes back up here. It might take a while. Any other questions on survivor's benefits? All right, then I'm going to go ahead and just wrap up with some information on Medicare. If you want to follow along in the slide section on your handouts, we're talking about Medicare now. A few things I want to say about Medicare. Number one, you can file for your Medicare coverage as early as age 65. Whether you're going to take your cash benefits or not, you can file for Medicare coverage at age 65. Or, if you're on disability benefits, you can file for Social Security disability, and after being on disability for 24 months, you will automatically qualify for Medicare coverage no matter what your age. Or if you have one of two unique medical conditions. If you have end-stage renal disease, kidney dialysis, or you've had a kidney transplant, you will automatically qualify for Medicare no matter what your age. Brings it up. And there we are. All right. So if you have permanent kidney failure or end-stage renal disease, you'll automatically qualify for Medicare. Or if you have ALS, or what's better known as Lou Gehrig's disease, no matter what your age, after we find you to be disabled, you will automatically qualify for Medicare coverage. These are the three parts to Medicare. There's the Medicare Part A. Covers a major portion of inpatient hospital expenses. Note, you do need to be an inpatient. If you simply go to the hospital, but they're treating you in an outpatient situation, you're going to be covered under Medicare Part B. Very different on what's going to be compensated. If you're an inpatient, though, it covers most of the expenses. Note, there is a deductible. Medicare Part B covers 80%. 80% of doctor's bills, outpatient care, durable medical equipment, you know those little scooters, covers 80% of those things. Covers 80% of ambulance services. It does have some smaller deductibles. Note, though, it does have a monthly premium. If you want to take this program, it will cost you $104.90 per month. For some people, very wealthy individuals in retirement, if you as an individual have $86,000 in retirement income, or as a married couple filing jointly, you have $176,000, you will pay more than the $104. So for very wealthy individuals in retirement, they will pay more than the $104 per month. But this only affects about 2 to 3% of the population. Then there's the Medicare Part D, the prescription drug program. This covers a major portion of prescription drug costs, doesn't cover all of them, and there is a time period when you're on this program, on the Medicare Part D, the prescription drug program, that you're required to pay 100% of your prescription drug coverage. It goes something like this. For the first $1 through $4,000 in drug purchases you make, the government pays 80% and you pay 20%. For $4,001 through $6,000 in drug purchases, during that time period, you pay 100%. And then at $6,001 in prescription drug purchases, the government picks up 100% of the cost. This is referred to as the donut hole. If you've heard this term, the donut hole, That basically is the time period where you are responsible for paying 100% of your prescription drug medications. This is being closed. Good news on this is that by the year 2020, this time period where you're required to pay 100%, it's being closed. And by the year 2020, under the Affordable Care Act, it will be eliminated. Any other questions on Medicare coverage? Any questions on how you qualify for the program or payment purposes?
Is this all mandated or you can choose?
Is this mandated? The answer is that no, you're not required to file for this. So for example, if you're getting cash benefits, you're automatically eligible for Medicare Part A at age 65. Has no monthly premium, and it'll only help you. However, Medicare Part B and D do have monthly premiums. If you want to take Medicare B, it's going to cost you at least $104.90. If you want Medicare Part D, the cost of the program varies in the state of Washington, and on average it's about $50 to $70 per month for the Medicare Part D program. They are voluntary. If you don't want to take them, you're not required to. However, if you don't file for these programs, for whatever reason, there are penalties involved in the future if you want to take these programs. The only way you are protected if you refuse to take Medicare Part B at age 65, you have to prove to us that you had insurance through your current employer or through your spouse's current employer. If you can prove to us that you had that coverage, there's no penalties involved. But let's say you just said you're 65, you're healthy, why should you pay this extra $100 a month? Or let's say you're going to live outside the country. You're going to be living outside the country for a couple of years. You can't use Medicare outside the country. Why pay for it? If you choose not to file for the program and you're not covered by an employee group health plan, for every year you refuse to take that program, there's a 10% penalty cumulative for the rest of your life. So if you opted not to take it for 2 years, that'd be a 20% penalty on that number for the rest of your life. So there are stiff penalties if you opted not to take it. Now that if you can prove to us that you had insurance through your employer, you're fully protected, or through your spouse's employer. Question?
Partly have to pay a claim. Okay, if I retire, I go back to other country, and the other country has a health insurance. I don't need to pay that, but 10 years later, I decided I want to come back to the United States, then I needed to take that money and just 10% penalty.
If you're in a country that has socialized medicine and the medical coverage is free to you, you don't pay anything for it, it's socialized medicine. Not many countries have this, by the way.
Taiwan has.
I beg your pardon?
Taiwan has.
Who does? Taiwan? So if it's a medical program paid by the government and you're fully covered, then you're protected. Yeah. But if you don't pay anything,
It's come back to here, 10 years, I don't need to pay this 10 years penalty.
no, but you're going to need to prove to us that you were continuously covered by this free medical program that you had in Taiwan. So if you do, if there's a completely free program and everybody is mandatorily covered under it and you don't pay anything for us, then you're going to do that. There are not many programs that qualify for that. Taiwan might have such a program, but no, I don't believe they do. It's not free. No. Yeah. There are not many countries that I want to say the only countries that jump to mind are the Scandinavian countries. Sweden, Norway, Finland, I believe they have complete socialized medicine. You are covered under that. Most other countries don't have such a medical program. You have to pay for it. If you are age 65, yes, and you file for survivor's benefits on his record, then yes, you get all of this. Yes, that's correct. Now then you will still have to pay the premiums. You'll still have to pay the $104, and you'll have to pay for the Medicare Part D. You'll still have to pay for that. But yes, you will be eligible for it based on survivor benefits. Yes. Yeah, so you don't have to earn this on your own. You can get it as a living spouse, or you can get it as a survivor. Any other questions on, yes? Yes, that is a deductible. So meaning that before you can go ahead and before the programs are covered, you have to pay a certain amount, currently $107 out of your own pocket. Yes. Now the reality is this. These programs are very good, but the reality is this isn't going to pay for all of your medical costs. This isn't going to pay for all of your medical needs. The reality is most people have to go out and get a supplemental plan to work hand in hand with Medicare. If you take an ambulance, if you have to take an ambulance someplace, that's $1,500 right there. This program will pay for 80% of that. You're on the line for the other $300. The reality is that most people will need to get another plan to work hand in hand with Medicare. It's not going to pay for everything. And so that is an added expense in your retirement years. And then there's a deductible, so yes. So it's very expensive. Medical insurance is not inexpensive. So yes, so most people, if you're just relying on Medicare, there's going to be a lot. If something goes wrong, there's going to be a lot of money that comes out of your pocket. So you need to look into other medical insurance programs that can work hand in hand with Medicare. Question in the back.
Yeah, if I have a hard leave issue in the Washington state, can I transfer to another state if I need?
Can you transfer your Medicare Part D to another state?
Yeah, can I use that?
This is not easy because Medicare Part D, these are private insurance programs. The federal government's not going to send you a prescription drug. What happened is you go out and get a what we call a PDP, a prescription drug provider. And that company is going to give you the prescription drug. So if you're going to move out of the state, you need to make sure that the program, the insurance program you have, is also in that other state. So you can't always have it transferred. So many times you can, because many of these programs cover multiple states, but it may not always be that way. So when you sign up for Medicare Part D, basically all you're doing is you're going out and getting a prescription drug program, then you go to the doctor, they give you a prescription, you go to the pharmacy, and the pharmacy fulfills the prescription, and let's say the bill was $100, basically the federal government says we're going to pay 80% of that. We're going to pay for $80 of it. You're responsible for paying the other 20, and depending on the insurance company you have, maybe they'll give you cost breaks, maybe it'll be lower cost. They may even have some deductibles and co-payments. It's not simply as easy as saying I'm going to take that program and then I can take it any place in the country. You do have a right, though, that if you leave the state and you're leaving the program, the insurance you're moving from Washington to Florida, and Florida doesn't have the program that you're currently in, when you get to Florida, you can sign up for a new program. So if you're leaving the state and the state you're moving to doesn't have the drug program that you had back in Washington, you can change programs at that time. Does that make sense?
No, I mean, just for Florida, short time.
You want to go outside? Oh, well, if you're doing it for a short time, once again, if you need to get a prescription filled, you have to look. You have to look into the insurance company. They may not allow you to do that. But you need to look for each company has its own rules, and this isn't easy. You got to read the fine print and all of their requirements. So if you're going to be out of the state, you're going to Wyoming for 6 months. You got to find out if you can get a prescription drug coverage and if your insurance company will cover it. What if you go outside the country and you get sick? Will Medicare cover it? And the answer is no. Medicare is only covered in the United States or in one of its territories. And the two top places to go, by the way, where people continue to have their medical coverage and get their check. We do send our checks outside the country. So if you're a citizen, we'll send a check almost any place in the world. Even if you're a non-citizen, if you've earned money, if you've worked and earned the money, we'll send the check almost any place in the world. However, Medicare coverage will only be active in the United States or in one of its territories. So we have, for example, we send a lot of money to people that move to the Philippines. Mexico and the Philippines, top two places to go, by the way. A lot of people that go to the Philippines, if they they can't get the medical treatment in the Philippines, they'll fly to Guam. Guam is an American territory, and there are hospitals there, and you can use Medicare in Guam. Or you could fly to Hawaii if you wanted to. A lot of people that are in Mexico, they're along near the border when they retire. You can come back across the border and get medical treatment that way.
So in order to be eligible for Medicare coverage, you need the 40 credits.
That is correct. In order to, well, let me take that back. In order to get free Medicare Part A, you have to have the 40 quarters, or you have to be married to somebody and they're of retirement age and they're eligible for benefits, and they have 40 quarters. B and D, you can buy. Whether if you're here in this country legally, you can buy both of these programs and you pay the same amount that anybody else would. You can also buy this program. If you're here in this country and you don't have Medicare Part A, you don't have 40 quarters, you can buy Medicare Part A. It costs about $450 a month, but you can buy the program if you want to. And we have some people that do that.
But then you get 40 quarters.
Yes, and then so if you had 38 quarters, you were close, and you bought this and you buy it for like 6 months, and then you get the other 2 quarters you need, then it goes away and you can stop paying for it. Yes. Yes.
Are you going to say a few words about Medicare Part C or the Advantage plan?
Yes, you notice that there's Medicare A, B, and D. What happened to C? Medicare Part C is really the Medicare Advantage program. It's not something that we normally talk about. It's a different type of Medicare. These are the fee-for-services. The Medicare Part C program is kind of an all-inclusive program. And so if you file for Medicare Part C, basically what they do is they say, okay, you go to our doctors, you go to our hospitals, and we'll cover all of the expenses. It's kind of an all-inclusive program. Medicare Part C, what it's going to look like over the next couple of years, it's radically changing. As part of the Affordable Care Act, basically, the president was going to cut what it gave to Medicare Part C program. For many years, they were basically overcompensated. And basically, under the Affordable Care Act, the agreement was that what they were going to be getting, what they were compensated for, was going to be cut. That hasn't happened yet, but that is scheduled to happen over the next few years. So the Medicare Part C programs we expect them to be changing over the next few years. But yes, that is an option for you. Instead of getting a supplemental plan to work with Medicare, Medicare Part C becomes your supplemental program, and as long as you stay within their program, what doctors and hospitals will see, they'll pick up all of the costs in many situations. Less some deductibles and smaller copays.
Can you walk back and forth between C?
Oh, good. Can you move back and forth between medical programs? And the answer is yes. We have an open enrollment. October 15th through December 7th is the time period when you can change from program. So yes, you could hop from one program and then decide you didn't like it, but you're going to be stuck in it for at least a year, and then you can hop back to it during open enrollment and change programs. And we encourage people to do this. That is one important thing. When you are getting a supplemental insurance, it is important to look at it every year and see if it's still meeting your needs. Because even if it's the greatest program in the world, you as an individual are changing, your medical needs are changing, and the costs of these programs change as well. One last question on Medicare, and then I'm going to move on to wrap up.
Can you say something for the person close to 65, what they're supposed to do?
If someone's close to 65, what do they need to do? If you're still working, and you have insurance through your employer, you don't need to do anything.
Don't need to call.
Nope. Don't need to call us, don't need to let us know. You have insurance through your employer and you're happy with the insurance and you're not planning on filing for benefits, there's no need to even file for the programs. It won't do anything for you because if you're working, your insurance through your employer remains the primary provider of insurance. Second thing, maybe you're working, maybe you're not, but you have the Affordable Care Act. You're getting Obamacare, you're getting insurance through there. When you hit 65, that goes away. When you hit 65 and you're now eligible for Medicare, the Affordable Care Act stops. and that coverage ends, because people that have Medicare don't get Affordable Care Act coverage. So you will need to switch over to a Medicare program at that time. So that would be the key. If you're not on benefits and you want to take this, you can independently file for it. So if you're 65 and let's say you're self-employed and you don't have insurance, or you have it through the Affordable Care Act, you can go ahead and drop it, and at age 65, even if you didn't want to take your cash benefits, you could independently file for Medicare coverage.
How about a spouse?
Spouse, they have to be 65 as well. If they're under 65, then this program won't do anything for them.
So they have to, if I retire, and she has to get a COBRA.
I assume she's younger than you?
Yeah.
Yes. So in that situation, yes, she would either have to take COBRA, or she could seek coverage under the Affordable Care Act. Yeah. And you'd have to weigh the options to see which one is more affordable. If you have any questions about Medicare, what's covered, what's not covered, how do I find a supplemental insurance program? What Medicare Part C programs are available to me? You need to go to Medicare. Medicare is actually a separate federal group. They actually cover and deal with all the hospitals and the insurance companies and what's covered, what's not covered. They actually do that themselves. So if you want to find out more about that, you need to go here, look that up. Also, just as a reminder, when you are ready to file for benefits, you can file for retirement benefits, disability benefits, Medicare benefits, spouses benefits. You can do all that right online now. You don't need to go into an office. You don't need to call us. When you're ready to file, you can file right at our website. Also, as a reminder, I just want to remind you, as we discussed earlier, if you want to transact business in a different language other than English, you can call our 800 number. We'll bring a translator onto the line, and we can, like I said, we can usually bring in about 120 different languages. So if you want to speak in a different language when talking to Social Security, just call our 800 number, and we'll be able to do that. Also, as we talked about, wealth of information you can get on our website. If you want to get our publications, such as this publication right here, if you want to get this in other languages, you can come to our website, and we have the multi-language gateway, which will allow you to get this information. Just go up to our top bar under the information section. You can actually come to it. We actually have a separate web page for Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders. You just come there, click on that, and it'll take you to a special website where you'll be able to get information in different languages. We also have some special statistical information about Asian American, Pacific Islanders here in the United States. But also over here we have the multi-language gateway. And by going there, like I said, you can get information in 15 different languages. If you want to learn about Social Security in Greek, we have it in Greek. That's right, Greek's on it. But we also, as we talked about, I have it in Chinese, Korean, Tagalog, Vietnamese. All the information's right there. And you can download most of our publications in 15 different languages. And finally, if you want to get some information about benefits outside the United States, if you're interested to see if you can take your benefit outside the country, a couple of things. You can also download this publication, your payments while you're outside the United States. And if you want to get some copies of these, I do have some up here before you leave if you want to come and get one. But you can also go to our website, and we actually have a tool on there that will actually allow you to find out if you qualify for benefits or can you take your benefits outside the country. It'll ask you a series of questions and then tell you based on your citizenship and what type of benefits you're filing for and what country you're going to. It'll confirm that you'll be able to receive it or you'll not be able to receive it, depending on the situation. Any other questions before we wrap up?
And this is temporary. For example, I go to another country in 1 year.
The question is can you temporarily have your, if you're going to be temporarily out of the country, will your Social Security benefits continue? The question becomes are you a U.S. citizen? What country are you going to? What citizenship do you have? So there's a whole bunch of questions that go into that. The answer is not always yes. Depending on what type, if you're a non-citizen and you're receiving benefits as a survivor, or you're a minor child and you're a non-citizen and you leave the country, you will often lose your Social Security benefits. They will stop. If you're a citizen, you can go almost any place in the world and we'll send your check. If you're a non-citizen and you've earned the benefit based on your own work, we'll often send the check almost any place in the world. However, there are some alien tax provisions, and if you're going outside the country, and you're going to be outside the country for more than 6 months, often we'll hold 30% of your check for tax purposes. So it really depends on your citizenship status and the type of benefit that you're receiving. I encourage you, if you are going to be going outside the country, particularly for more than 6 months, that you take one of these publications or look up the information online. Question?
I have a question related to required documents. So let's talk about birth certificate, right? If you're foreign born, we can use like passport, right?
The question is if you're going to file for benefits, what documents do you need to have? Whether you're foreign born or not, the first thing we're going to ask for is, do you have a birth certificate? So no, we always ask everybody, do you have a birth certificate? Can you give us the birth certificate? If you can't give us the birth certificate, why can't you? Does one not exist? If it's simply, yes, I have a birth certificate, but I got to order it from my country of origin. Order it. We need to see it. We will start to use other documents. So if you were born someplace and you said, no, the document doesn't exist, my birth was never recorded, or it was destroyed, a war, a flood, whatever it might be, then we'll start moving down. Well, we need to see the oldest document that you have. That might be your citizenship paper. That might be an old passport that you had from if you came from another country. Could be some other different documents that you have. We want to see the oldest thing you have. We're not automatically going to move to, we need to see your U.S. passport. So we'll go start stepping down to see what documents you have.
The next question is about the marriage certificate. So what if the spouse's name got changed? So the marriage certificate is not the name she's going to be.
Typically, we're not even going to need to see the marriage certificate unless there's a death situation. We'll take your word for it. If you say you're married and the other person says you're married, we'll take your word for it. We don't need to see the marriage certificate. It's only in a death, and then after the person's on our record, we'll automatically convert them to survivor's benefits, and we'll never even need to see the marriage certificate. The only time we need to see a marriage certificate is if there's a divorce. And then you're trying to get spouse's benefits as a divorced spouse. Other than that, we're not going to need to see the marriage certificate. So don't even mention it. You don't even need to see that. Any other questions on anything that we've covered? All right, well, thank you very much for coming today. Thank you.